So for today's video, we're going to be talking about arrays, array lists, and enhanced for loops. So the first thing we want to do is make a class with the main method, your standard stuff, and we're going to create an array. So you may notice that the first videos I talked about, I really didn't talk about the main method. You'll notice there's this thing here called string array. This is what actually that symbol means, and then its name is args. So we're going to be talking about that right away. So if you ever want to declare an array, you simply take the data type, put two brackets at the end, and then name it whatever. Like name it name, I guess. I don't know, why not? And that's a great instantiation. So usually when you declare an array, what you want to do is say how much of it. So string array name equals, it's a new, because it's an array, it's a new string array, and in these brackets, when you declare it, like not here, but right here, you put in how long it is. So let's say we want 8 elements to our array. And I should probably explain this first, but wanted to show you how to instantiate first, in case you were wondering, or maybe you already know how arrays work. An array just stores values, such as, so for example, let's actually make that 4. An array of size 4 would store 4 elements into one variable. It's pretty useful if you want to save time or save memory, which isn't an issue now, but also you could run through things. Basically, it's a lot more convenient. So we're also going to incorporate immediately, and also know that the elements have to match the data type. Obviously, for example, that's pretty unfair. You'd have to actually put some strings in there, and then it would actually work. But that's pretty much all you want to do for like storing things store-wise. That was a great sentence, by the way. For future reference, me. I think everything next to say. So by default, when you declare a new string array, what was I going to say? Okay, when you declare a new string array, it comes with empty strings for each element. You have to declare each one. So let's say you wanted to do that. So you declared your array. You can do that with any data type. We can do an int array, call it nums. It's new int array, and we say how long we want it to be. Let's say we want it to be 2 elements. There you go. And in there, it would store something like that. Pretty standard stuff. Not too complicated, I would hope. It just stores elements just like the string one. But let's say you wanted to set those elements. What you could do is you could do, say, name. If you wanted to reference an element in the array, you put brackets right after name and then the element you want to reference. It starts at index 0 and goes to however long the index is, or however long the array is minus 1. So for example, an array of length 4, its last index will be 3, and because it starts at 0. So let's say we wanted to modify index 0. Let's not do that. Let's do that. We do something like that, and then we would do equals. Well, let's store name. Let's store Michael into there. And there you go. That's how you store elements. Pretty not that hard. You do the same thing with int arrays, double arrays, Boolean arrays. Any object or primitive data type you can make into an array. There's not anything that's not a variable type that you can't make into an array. Except maybe some things, but we don't have to worry about that for now. So say we wanted to set. Geez, I can't talk. It's really late. That's why. Say we want to set the int at index 1. Geez, it's not that hard to talk, me. So you want to set it to 10. There you go. I don't know why it's not. Oh, duh. Don't do what I did. Don't do that. I'm very bad at these, aren't I? Alrighty. and then that's pretty much, that's how you set them, that's how you declare them. Next thing we want to do is probably print them. So usually when it comes to printing, the best way is to use a for loop, which we learned in the last series how to use those. So we start at int1, or int I equals 0, I is less than. Now here's what you can do with arrays. You can take whatever array you have, say we have name, so let's take name dot length. My thing would load. There we go. Dot length. Then we can do I++. And there you go. Now you have a for loop that will run through, give you everything you need. And then you just system.println. And then you would type names of I. And that's how you would print it out. What did I do wrong? No, I named it name. I'm smart. Don't worry about it. And then it'll work. I already typed it. How did I already forget? Okay. You get something like that. Prints it out in a nice for loop. But what you also can do is use enhanced for loops, which if you ask me are a lot better for printing stuff out. So we could take, say, for string I is to, say, name. Then we can print it out. But instead of that, we type in system.out system.out.println, and we just type I. It's a lot simpler, isn't it, than that? And then also it runs through every element. This for loop is more useful for, say, if you want to modify the elements. Say, for example, we were setting each index. Otherwise, for this one, it would probably be more useful to just, if you wanted to print everything, that kind of stuff. I'm trying to think about what next. Trying to think of more stuff I can describe with arrays. That's pretty much it when it comes to arrays. They're just more useful for storing a bunch of information. You don't have to store variables. Actually, that's what I could do. So here we go. Let's say we have an int n equals 10. Right? Okay, so I have int n equals 10. And we want to take n and store it into nums. Okay? Thankfully, num is already like that, so let's actually just change that so I don't think it's like real dumb. Okay, so we want to set n to a value in nums. So we say nums 0 equals n. And you can do that too. That works fine. Work basically the same thing. You can't set that. Non-matching data types, standard stuff. Like I said, it's just a way of storing more information in an easier package. Enhanced for loops, really only useful for printing things. You can't modify elements. So for example, I couldn't say I equals something. I could do name of I, but it would, pretty sure it glitches out or gives you an error. But let's try it. So name of, oh wait, you can't do that because it doesn't give you a value. That's why. So that's why I did that on purpose. Trust me, I know how to program. But that's what I want to hone in on. Enhanced for loops really only useful for if you want to print values, not necessarily if you want to modify them. That's why you would use the regular for loop. Next, we're going to go into ArrayList. Again, if you have any further questions, just leave them in the comments. I'll be happy to answer them. I'll probably try to make a follow-up video of things that I missed. But for now, this is all you get, I guess. All right, ArrayLists. Oh, actually, before I do that, there's another way to declare arrays. So let's use our double array, for example. So you do a double array. We could call it dubs equals, and you don't actually have to do new. You can actually just set it to the values you want. So let's say we want 2.0, 3.14, 9.2, and well, that's all we want, I guess. You can actually just do that. If I could, let me delete that so it actually shows you that it works. You can actually just declare it right from there, which is a lot more convenient. if you know exactly what values you need. Otherwise, you can just use a for loop to set them as well. That works too. Let me actually demonstrate that to you. So if probably better for a, let's just use the double. Okay, so we got the double named dubs. I'm great at remembering. Okay, and then you can just, right, you have this, and then you can just do dubs of I equals 10.0, or you can actually make it even fancier. You could do I plus 1 times I. Why not? Although that probably won't help. You could do that times itself. You could do math.pal. You can add it to 20, whatever you want to do. Basically, you can just set in for loops, makes it more convenient. You can set it up here, still convenient. All right. I think maybe you get the point. I don't want to spend too much time on this because I gotta record 2 other videos. But again, I'll be happy to answer questions. I'll probably end up making a follow-up video. Don't know when I would release that, but probably not too long after this video. Okay, array lists. I know I'm going really fast, but trust me, I'm trying. Array lists. They work pretty much. Oh, that brings up a good point. So arrays, you may have noticed that they seem to have a fixed size, and in fact, they do have a fixed size. Arrays can't change their size. You can change what is stored in them, but you can't change how long they are. And sometimes that's not what you want, because sometimes you have data that changes. It's like, for example, when I was making a video game, an array list, you can actually remove values, as in you can delete an index and everything shifts over. You can't do that with an array, so that's why array lists can actually be a lot more useful. So here's what we do. Array list, and you can call it whatever, except they work a bit differently. What you do with array lists is you put these little weird triangles. I don't know exactly what they're called, but you'll just have to trust me. That's the ones you use. And then you name it. Well, you tell it whatever type you want to use. But here's the catch. You can't use primitive data types. You have to use objects. So if you wanted to use, say, an int, you would type in integer. If you wanted to use a double, you would type in double. And for Boolean, you would type in Boolean. Although let me check that one, because don't usually use those. You can indeed. Alrighty. But you'll notice immediately you have to import the array list from java.util. And once you do that, you can totally fine. Int, doubles, booleans, you can also do chars, except they would be referenced as character, not char. And then once you do that, you're totally fine. We're going to be working with strings because they're a lot easier. Well, not that they're easier, but we've already been working with strings. We haven't worked with the integer, double, or boolean class. So let's just go to the array list, string, give it a name, and okay, we declared it, but we didn't really instantiate it. Do new array list, and then we type in, it's a string, and then you need parentheses. I totally knew that. No, I did, but that might be a common mistake if you're typing really fast and you just forget those two, because they don't really have anything in them. You can put things in them, but for the most part, you don't need to really worry about them. And then what you can do with array lists is you can do name.add, and then you can add whatever whatever element you need. So like, let's say we want to add I want to add my name. Okay, do that if I spell that right. sad I can't spell my own name. And there you go. We can name.add. Can add another one. Let's say we add the name John. Okay, let's add one more. Why not? Okay, name.add. Can add Alec. Gotta type those semicolons because otherwise the code doesn't work. Can't forget about those parentheses because otherwise it won't work. And then there you go. And then you could just you can add as many as you want. And you can do the same thing as I showed with like the array, with the array class, not the array class, just arrays in general. You can manipulate them so that you can, just run through a for loop and modify them. A lot more convenient. You can do the same thing with array lists. Okay? And then, so with adding, after we've got that, you can actually remove indexes. But you have to know which index is which can be a little annoying sometimes if you have a lot of adds, but thankfully we don't. So let's say we remove John. So it would be at index 1. This also follows the arrays of, it starts at index 0. So if we remove 1, we have Michael and then Alec. Okay, so you got adds, you got removes. What if I wanted to declare this as, well, I just want to, let's say, you know exactly what values you want to store. Let's see if I can remember. You more often than not won't have to do this. You probably won't do it just because most of the time you can just do a bunch of adds because this is a lot more convoluted. In fact, I don't remember if I actually know how to do it, but I'll give it a shot. Equals, and I believe each. Wow, I can't remember. Okay. Oh no, I think I had it. Yeah. Okay. So you want to do that, and then you want to maybe cast it, I would think. That seems right. Okay. Casting, I think I mentioned that before, but if not, we'll cover it again. Casting is when you take one class and just, like, for example, list and array list are related. We get into that later, but since they're related, we can cast one to the other. But we can't cast an array list to a list. We can cast a list to an array list. Really complicated. We'll get to that eventually. But that works. I can't believe I actually remembered that. I think there's another way to do it too, but that one works, although it's not looking too pretty, I guess. Okay, you don't have to worry about that. All we have to do is make sure that they're actually being stored. So what we do is for int, except we can't do that. We have to do integer I is to ints. Let's do that same thing as the arrays, and we can just do system.out .println and type in I. And if we run it, and hopefully this doesn't crash, it will give you an error. Sweet. Okay, then let's not worry about that. I'll cover that in another video once I know how to do it, but just trust me when I say that you will not be doing it that often, if at all. Yes, I know. Surprisingly, I don't know how to do something. Okay, I'm trying to think of anything else I want to cover. I think that's about it. This video is getting close to where I want to stop it, just because I don't want to go too long. I'll probably be making a follow-up to this video. If you have any questions, just leave them in the comments. I'll be happy to answer them, because I'm sure this video was crap. But, alright, worst case scenario, I have to remake it. That's fine. It's all for you lovely people, because programming is fun and you should learn how to do it. And hopefully you watched the last series and you have learned something. I hope that's my hope for this entire series, is that you've learned something you didn't know how to do before. Maybe you're just getting into programming and you learned something. That makes me great. That makes me feel happy. But I think we're gonna end it off, so I will see you in the next video. Bye.